Well, let's ebb and flow into the next thing because it kind of ties into this, but it's a little bit more with a little bit more specificity. From Realtor.com, real estate sluggish summer will give buyers a jump in the fall. Now, this is something that we were kind of speculating and we were talking about just from an observatory type of angle.
Yeah.
The claim is that August is a notoriously sluggish time anyways, but that this August was particularly slow. I would still say that 2023 August was just felt like there was like a vice grip around the neck of the market.
Yeah.
Certainly was that way when it came to mortgage rates. I just think the best way for me to describe my position on this is that we've kind of just taken everything, we've just clicked it to the right by an entire quarter.
Yeah.
I think anything that was going to happen in the spring, it's happened in the summer. Anything that we expect to happen in the summer is now going to happen in the fall.
Yeah.
I think that's just what it is.
I mean, I think the title is great, right? Real estate sluggish summer will give buyers a jump in the fall.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We're finally hearing that the Fed is going to finally reduce the Fed funds rate.
Yeah.
We haven't seen that happen. And if they reduce it in September, it'll be 30 months.
Yeah.
30 months since we've seen the Fed reduce the Fed funds rate. I don't think that's ever happened.
Well, part of what hasn't to go hand in hand with that. Part of what hasn't happened is how quickly they raise the rate to get out of the problem. So it's the other side of the coin, which is yes, it's been a really long time. They have held it higher for longer, and I have some charts back from 22.
Oh, have they? Okay.
From 22. No, but I have some charts from 2022 when they're doing like these projections of where they want the Fed funds to rate. They're actually behind by like 9 months, 6 to 9 months. So what they were hoping for by 2024. We're not there yet. And where they're saying we'll be in 2025 is actually where they thought we were going to be in 2024. Jeez. So when you go and look in the old archives, they put all these blue charts, and it says like Fed members survey of projected Fed funds rate in the future. And it says like 23, 24, 25, 26. Yeah. We're behind.
Yeah.
We're behind. And I think it's because what they were expecting to have happened economically with inflation took a lot longer than they were hoping for.
And I think a lot of it had to do with how they were increasing the Fed funds rate. Sometimes it would just be 0.25% instead of just going 75 or 1 full percent. I think we would have got out sooner. Yeah. But again, they got to be cautious, right?
Yes.
They're teeter-tottering to see what's going to be the best balance, and they still haven't figured it out, as you can see.
Well, that I think they had to change. I think they had to change their strategy, but without like totally admitting that there was a fault in the strategy at the beginning. Yeah. I don't want to get into that.
Well, no. I mean, hey, we just talked about a couple of weeks ago how, what was that, $800,000? Sorry, the
880,000
880,000 jobs that we created from
that weren't created. Yeah, I don't.
So I get it.
Here's the thing I'll say, just as a caution for everyone watching on either side of whatever your political spectrum is, you have to understand the definition of what they're counting and reporting before you say it's a good or it's a bad thing. No. You can patently sit up here and say, yeah, it's really bad to overinflate jobs numbers, regardless of which side you are defending or supporting. Because when you say you have 880,000 more jobs than you actually do, that's giving a false impression to the people, the Fed, that are saying they're being data dependent in order to make their policy decisions.
Correct.
That's bad no matter which side of the aisle you're sitting on. I'm sorry.
Exactly.
Sorry, not sorry.
Yeah, I mean, still, that's a lot of jobs created for.
It is. Well, it's a lot.
Or just made up.
Oh God.
But I didn't mean to ruffle the
you're
feathers.
Right. No, it's fine. We're talking about the fall. The Fed is going to reduce the rates in September. Okay, we already know it's going to happen. It's probably going to happen a second time by the end of the year. Yes, I think that real estate is got a quarter turn click to the right, and I mean quarter turn, literally quarter of the year and quarter turn to the right. I think they're going to see more inventory. I think that people are going to be eager to try to get in homes in the fall and winter, even if even weather notwithstanding, in places that maybe weather isn't that good. I still think people are going to start taking advantage of. And there's another thing that they didn't talk about here, and I'm going to say this is the dark horse reason. The dark horse reason is people are going to have to sell because they have to.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Financially and economically going to have to sell because they're imprisoned by their payment.
Yeah.
And or they have too much debt and selling's a way out, not refinancing.
Yeah.
Or they're having some other economic problem in their life that they're going to have to sell. And I think that's going to bring inventory and cause a lot of windfall events for owners.
We just had one right now where we presented an offer for $1 million. They were selling it for $1.2 million. The offer that was submitted was for $1 million, and so sellers were like, we the lowest we'll take is $1.1 million, right? And so my buyer said, like, we're not going with it. No thanks. So they decided to withdraw. So they withdrew the property. They said, like, we're just going to take it off the market. We're going to try to see if we can get a renter in there. Fast forward a month later, they gave us a call back and they took our offer, and we just opened escrow on $1 million.
No, okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So what was the reason? So
here's the thing, Andy.
Why was the buyer going into the $1 million a month and a half ago, 2 months
Just
ago?
because the bar that he felt like with the amount of repairs and all that,
Okay.
yes, it's going to need some money. And it's not worth that 1.1, even though sales comparables were in that. So they wanted to offer 1, and that's my bottom line. Like, there's no more. I'm going to go higher, right? So obviously, you already know. As soon as we open escrow, I look at the property profiles. I look and see what mortgage are in there. There's a first and a second and a third mortgage in there. So going to that, when I see that there was a line of credit, original mortgage is there from what they purchased, right, with 20% down. Then I see a line of credit, and then another line of credit. 8 months later, that tells me there's some situation going on financially. So you're absolutely right. And they just purchased this property back in 2021. So this could be, you never know. It could be a financial, they lost their job. It could be a divorce, which is very common.
That's common. Yeah, that's
very common right now is what we've seen a lot of that. So, you just never know. I think people right now are just getting rid of that interest rate. Even if it was low, they're just saying, the heck with it, because there's bigger problems,
Okay, so I'm going to ask you a question, kind of piggybacking on that, because it came up here in the article, and now that you brought this to the table, I think this actually goes really well. Do you think that buyers, so given the state that maybe there's a seller who's in distress financially or getting divorced or whatever, like, do you think buyers can afford to wait to just kind of see what else pops up, or do you think that they need to strike when the iron's hot?
For me right now, for my opinion, and I always said this, strike you can strike already, strike it now. We don't know what's going to happen later. It's not like we have a crystal ball. If I did, right, I would have invested in Tesla a long time ago and probably wouldn't have this conversation or NVIDIA, right?
Yeah.
So it's those kind of things. A lot of times they put it out there and you just miss out, or you feel like you miss out, And so you got to strike right now when the opportunity is there. And that's why you got to get approved first, get your approval, be ready, know what your numbers are more or less, because now that we know the Fed's going to reduce the rates, I think that puts a buyer in a better position now. In realizing that, hey, right now I'm going to get a lower rate. I already know that 6-8 months down the line, I'm going to be able to refinance this again and put myself and my family even in a better position as time moves on.
And so I guess I am asking, now that I'm kind of hearing your answer, I guess I am kind of asking more of a psychological question, I think, than a math question. I'm like, should they be looking or waiting? Like, if you're approved, you could be looking and buying, then go. So the answer kind of is more of a behavioral psychological, which is like, hey, you said you wanted this.
Yeah.
The market is ready to take you in as a buyer. Go look for a place and do it.
This is what people think a lot. They think like, wait a minute, if I get into it right now, what if we see a bunch of homes come on the market and the properties go down?
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, okay.
The best excuse that I use is just go to your grandparents when they first bought their home.
That's true.
Right? Just look at what's happened. They've gone through the cycles and they're still in a better position, having bought the property versus not have bought one.
I'm remembering a story my mom told me about when she said to my grandfather that her and my dad wanted to buy a place in Spring Valley for like $78,000, like in the 70s. Back in the 70s, like 78, like, you're crazy. There's no way you should be buying a house for $78,000. This is like 40-something years ago now. But
yeah.
Now you're looking at is there anything under 800 or 900?
Especially, Andy, you already know. Obviously, I buy and invest too. I'm building ADUs here. You're in San Diego, you're landlocked.
Yeah.
You're landlocked.
Big time.
So we're approving people here like, please just buy something. You'll be fine. It's longevity. It's like stocks in the market right now. It's not timing of the market, it's time in the market.
Yeah.
Real estate works the same way. So that's my take on this.
Okay, so you're on board with the fall being I'll say the new summer.
That's right.
Do you think that? Do you think that's what's going to happen?
Absolutely. People in the summer was so slow. It wasn't as busy as it has been in times like we always saw April. Everybody as right after Christmas happened, like it takes like mid-February, March. But we've also seen the last 4 years, March interest rates rise.
Yeah, no, yeah, absolutely.
We've seen that, right? And so people are like, hey, this is a good market. There's not so many homes on the market. So if I'm going to get top dollar, now is the time for me to put it up.
Yeah.
You know, it's ready from the holidays, all cleaned up, ready to put that. So
yeah, I'm gonna use the word. I'm gonna use this word that this other guy, Jeff Lichtenstein, was saying and quoted in this article. There's a stalemate in the marketplace, and I was like, that the summer felt like a stalemate.
it felt
It's
like
sellers who got those golden handcuffs with a really low interest rate don't want to sell. They got a lot of equity, like that's great,
Yeah.
but they don't have a need to sell. They don't need to sell.
Yeah.
And someone who wants to buy is on the other side of that, like, oh, I got this like, interest rate environment that's, let's say, unfavorable and creating unaffordability, and prices are high and inventory is low. Great.
Yeah.
So, I like the description he used, but it kind of just felt that way. But I think that stalemate is loosening up, and I'm actually
absolutely
pretty excited about that.
I see right there, housing stock will increase this fall, and I put yes, it already has.
Yeah.
It's plateaued. We're like, Phil, it's like plateau. Like, we've seen a lot of withdrawals. This is the highest price cuts. We're like 33% higher than last year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And a lot of times, why does that happen, Andy? The seller thinks like, well, my house is worth 1.2, right? Like I said.
Yeah.
But to a buyer, yeah, you may look at it. This is your primary home.
Yeah.
But for me, I'm looking in there. What am I going to do? What's my likes?
Mm-hmm.
What am I going to put into this property? 80,000, 100. So I like it for $1 million.
Yeah.
And look what?
Yeah.
It got offer accepted at $1 million.
Yeah. And so,
So who really determines the price?
The buyer.
The buyer.
The buyer. Yeah. What's the market willing to give you for what you
Absolutely.
have? Yeah, absolutely.
That's how it goes. So that's one thing that's happened right there.
So we're going to see, let's say, home prices kind of like stay plateau, or maybe even see a little bit of a downtick based on inventory. That there's a chance that they could just stay stable versus decline further if mortgage rates come down, or when they come down further, and people are able to afford. I think that some people are naturally going to become buyers again and actually be able to get in at the price that's listed still, and maybe sellers will have to take less haircut. But here's my caveat. Because there's more inventory, I think it's going to be more about seller versus seller as opposed to seller versus buyer.
Yeah.
I think it's like, oh, you're going to put your house on the market?
100%.
Well, the one next to you is nicer. Now what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Like there's that. It's going to be, I think it's going to be sellers competing among each other for getting buyers versus, oh, I got 9 buyers and I'm just going to try to compete with, no.
Yeah.
I think that's what's going to change.
Exactly. Oh, 100%.